Hello all, welcome to the second lesson of this course called Solve Aptitude Problems Easily. In this lesson, I am going to introduce you to two different methods of solving a given problem. One is the conventional way of solving problems and the other is unconventional way of solving problems. You will realize how using unconventional methods of solving mathematical problems will help you solve problems quickly. Please do note that conventional methods are also called as traditional thinking and unconventional methods are also called as lateral thinking. Also, towards the end of today's lesson, I am going to give you an assignment that you must solve using both conventional as well as unconventional methods. Before that, let me answer this famous question to you. Why are aptitude tests conducted? It is a quite valid and interesting question, isn't it? This question is asked to me every time I begin to teach solving aptitude problems to my students. Students keep asking me, why should companies test our basic mathematical skills through aptitude tests when we have already passed our primary schooling with good grades in mathematics? Isn't it? The answer for this question is very simple. The school grades only tells whether a candidate has understood the fundamental concepts of mathematics or not. That is, school grades do not indicate a candidate's smart problem solving ability. In other words, school grades will not indicate how fast a candidate can solve a given problem. That is the reason why companies conduct aptitude tests. Most aptitude tests are designed to evaluate the smart thinking and problem solving ability of the candidate taking up the test. It has to be understood that academic mathematics exams in school have a different goal and aptitude tests have a different goal. In the academic mathematics exam, the focus is on the process of solving a given problem. Marks are allocated for the process in academic exams. Whereas in aptitude test, the focus is on the final result. In aptitude test, the end result is more important than the process of getting it. In academic exams, 70% to 80% of the marks for a problem is allocated for the process or the approach and hardly 20% to 30% of the marks are allocated for the final answer. Whereas in aptitude test, you will score only if the final answer is right. This is the major difference between academic exams and aptitude tests. So, what is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is that in aptitude tests, when only final answer matters, you must use smarter approaches or conventional methods or also called lateral thinking methods to solve mathematical problems. Having said that, let me answer another famous question that I keep receiving from student community. Why most students fail in aptitude tests? This is another question that many students keep asking me. The answer is quite straightforward. Most students are good at conventional method of solving mathematical problems. That is, they are very good at applying systematic approach that are taught in schools to solve a given problem. And solving mathematical problems using conventional method consumes lots of time. And sometimes while solving the problem using conventional methods, it may add unnecessary complexities which may lead to wastage of time during aptitude tests. This is the main reason why many students fail in aptitude tests. I have personally come across lots of students who have a great academic scores in mathematics but they are unable to crack the aptitude tests. As said earlier, the main reason for failing to crack aptitude tests is using conventional approach or traditional approach towards solving mathematical problems. The only way to win in aptitude test is by dropping conventional approach of solving problems and adopt lateral thinking methodology. If you can practice solving mathematical problems using lateral thinking approach, you can crack any aptitude test easily. Lateral thinking or unconventional approaches will help you save time by following certain shortcut methods. Now, let me take a simple example to show you the difference between conventional method and unconventional method or lateral thinking method for solving a multiplication problem. Let's take a simple calculation of 12 multiplied by 38. The conventional approach would be to multiply 38 by 2 first, then multiply 38 by 1 next, and then add all of them in a squared arrangement. This approach definitely requires you to scribble on a sheet of paper and it takes time. Whereas you can solve the same problem using lateral thinking approach in the following manner. The problem 12 multiplied by 38 can be looked at as 10 times 38 and 2 times 38 added together to get the final answer of 456. Or the same problem can be solved mentally as 40 times 12 and subtract 2 times 12 from it to get the final answer as 456. The advantage is that both these unconventional approaches help students to calculate the answers mentally without the need of any calculating devices. Isn't it? Similarly, let's take another example to multiply 215 and 398. The conventional approach would be to multiply 398 by 5 first, then multiply 398 by 1 first, and at the last multiply 398 by 2 and then add all of them in a squared arrangement. This approach definitely requires you to scribble on a sheet of paper and it takes time. Whereas you can solve the same problem using unconventional approach in the following manner. The problem 215 multiplied by 398 can be looked at as 200 times 398 and 15 times 398 added together to get the final result of 85,570. Or the same problem can also be solved mentally as 400 times 215 and subtract 2 times 215 from it to get the final answer as 85,570. Both these approaches help students to calculate the answers mentally without the use of any devices, including pen and paper. Don't worry, I understand what is running in your mind right now. There is a problem with this approach for beginners, isn't it? You are probably feeling lateral thinking approach is more difficult than conventional approach. This is what you are currently thinking. Am I right? Let me tell you this. Your current thought process is very obvious and is quite natural. Anyone who begins to prepare for aptitude tests and if they come across lateral thinking approach, they will definitely find it difficult. Anyone who tries to solve mathematical problems using unconventional approach initially finds it very difficult to solve because their mindset has been fixed to solve problems only through conventional approaches. And coming out of that mindset is very difficult, at least in the beginning phase of learning unconventional approaches or lateral thinking approaches. But the reality is, if you want to solve mathematical problems quickly, the only way is to adopt lateral thinking approach of problem solving. There is no other way. Breaking or giving up the conventional methods of solving problems is absolutely necessary if you want to crack aptitude tests. There is no other choice. I'm going to tell you something very important in the next slide, so listen to me very carefully, my dear friends. Without your knowledge, because you have practiced conventional methods of solving problems for a very long period of time throughout your schooling days, there is a mental block that has been created within you. The mental block that will make you feel that you can never solve a problem using lateral thinking approach or unconventional methods. This mental block that is created within you will make you feel that you will never be able to solve any kind of problems using unconventional method and will never allow you to break out of conventional methodologies. But the reality is that you can solve mathematical problems more faster using unconventional methods compared to conventional methods. It is absolutely possible, my dear friends. Mental blocks will never allow you to think differently. For that, the first thing you have to do is remove the mental block or break the mental block that says you can only solve problems using conventional methods. Once you break out of that mental block, the rest is very easy. In the next slide, I'm going to narrate a very nice story that will make you realize how mental blocks can fool us for life. This story is about an elephant and a rope. Probably, I think you would have heard about the story, but it is good to recall the story once again. This short story highlights the importance of believing that you can achieve whatever you want in life when you can break out from your mental block. It also gives us a moral that if we do not break out from our mental block, we remain slaves to it throughout our life. Now, let me get into the story. The story goes like this. A gentleman was walking through an elephant camp and he spotted that the elephants were not being kept in cages, neither they were tied using chains. All that was holding them back from escaping the camp was a small piece of rope tied to one of their legs to a small wooden pole. As the man continued to observe the elephant's activity in detail, he was completely confused as to why the elephants did not just use their strength to break the rope and escape from the camp. They could have easily done so, but instead they did not try to do that at all. He became very curious and wanting to know the answer, he asked the elephant trainer who was sitting nearby as to why these elephants were just standing there and never tried to escape. For that, the trainer replied, when those elephants were very young and were much smaller, those trainers used the same size rope to actually tie them, and at that age, it was enough to hold them. When these baby elephants tried to escape from this rope tied, they could not do it actually. They tried and tried to break free from this rope, but they failed every time. After failing for several times, they gave up thinking that they can never break free from this rope. And as they grew up, they were conditioned to believe that they cannot break away from the rope no matter what. They believed that the same rope can still hold them even after they have grown up. That is the reason they will never try to break free, is what the trainer told to this man. Now, the only reason that the elephants were not breaking free and escaping from the camp was that over a period of time, they have adopted the belief and created a mental block within them that if they were tied to a rope, they will never be able to break free. So, what is the moral of the story, my dear friends? The moral of the story is that no matter how much the world tries to hold you back, always continue with the belief that what you want to achieve is possible to achieve. In other words, you can definitely break out of your mental block that would have been created in the past for various reasons. Believing you can become successful is the most important step in actually achieving it. Same goes with aptitude test preparation too. Don't you think even we are like those elephants when we are initially trying to solve mathematical problems using unconventional approaches? We find it difficult initially, but the fact is that we are trying to break out from the mental block that we had created by following conventional approaches for a very long time during our school days. Isn't it? Schools used conventional methods to teach us mathematical problem solving because they wanted a step by step approach to evaluate our understanding of fundamental mathematical concepts. These approaches were made compulsory throughout our schools and colleges just for this purpose. Therefore, by practicing to solve problems in a conventional manner for a very long period of time, without our knowledge, we have developed a strong mindset for the conventional approaches, which I call as mental block. And it is high time that we have to break this mental block. And that is what this course is intended to do so. Though breaking out of this mental block is initially difficult, it is definitely not impossible. And the good news is that breaking out of this mental block of solving mathematical problems using conventional approach is very much rewarding both in terms of career and personal life. Once you start using conventional methods or lateral thinking methods to solve problems, you will eventually become more smarter in your thinking. You will be able to solve any kind of problems with ease. Not just mathematics, but any real life problems too. Everyone whom you meet on your daily basis will be very, very proud to notice your efficiency in everything you do. Don't you think so? Now, let me now give you a small problem to solve. Try not to use any kind of devices and start using your brain. Let's slowly get into the practice of solving problems using brain and start breaking our mental block that has been created over a period of time from our school days. Now, here's your problem to solve. Read the problem statement carefully. A customer goes to a bookshop and finds a very interesting book. The shopkeeper tells the customer that the book costs rupees 850. The customer agrees to buy that book but tells the shopkeeper that he can only pay for the book through gift coupons that were issued to him by the bank. The shopkeeper does not have a bank account to encash the gift coupons. Also, the shopkeeper does not want to lose the business too. Therefore, he requests his friend who has a shop next door to help him in encashing those gift coupons. After his friend agrees, the shopkeeper prepares a bill. The customer has gift coupons in the denominations of rupees 500. He gives two coupons of rupees 500 each. The shopkeeper exchanges these coupons with his friend and gets the cash. He gives the book and the balance money of rupees 150 to the customer. The customer happily goes away with the book. Next day, the shopkeeper's friend goes to the bank with these gift coupons to exchange for money. The bank people refuse to honor these coupons and informs him that those coupons were fake. The friend gets annoyed and shouts at the shopkeeper after coming back. The shopkeeper has no option but to give away the rupees 1000 to him in cash. Now, hope you have understood the story well. If not, I would suggest you to read it again before answering the next question. Now, the question to you is, what is the total loss incurred by the shopkeeper in this deal? Take a while to think. Pause this video and start thinking. I kindly request you not to use any calculators or devices. Try to solve it in your mind. It is okay if you take some time initially, but be happy that you are breaking out from your mental block. I again request you not to move ahead in the video until you solve this by yourself. I don't mind even if the answer is wrong, but I really want to solve this problem by yourself. Start right now. Pause the video and start right now. What's your answer? If you have got answers like 2000, 1850, 1900, then you are in the majority of candidates who fail in the aptitude tests. But don't worry, you will eventually become good at solving such problems. Though this problem is not at all difficult, you still go wrong while solving this problem. The reason is you don't try to understand the root cause of this problem. Now, let me try to help you solve this problem. Let us first look at how to solve this problem in a conventional manner. Let me solve it systematically. There are three people involved in the story: the shopkeeper, the customer, and the shopkeeper's friend. Let us first check the transaction between the shopkeeper and his friend. Initially, after getting the coupons from the customer, the shopkeeper exchanges these coupons with rupees 1000 in cash from his friend. That's the first scenario. After his friend realizes the invalidity of the coupons, the shopkeeper pays him back the rupees 1000 cash in return for the fake coupons. This is the second scenario. I'll repeat. Initially, after getting the coupons from the customer, the shopkeeper exchanges these coupons with rupees 1000 in cash from his friend. That is, the shopkeeper gives these coupons worth rupees 1000 to the friend and takes 1000 rupees in cash, from his friend. After his friend realizes the invalidity of the coupons, the shopkeeper has to pay him back the rupees 1000 that he has taken in cash from his friend in exchange or in return for the fake coupons that he had earlier given to his friend. This is the second scenario. This means that the net effect of the transaction between the shopkeeper and his friend is absolutely zero. There is no loss and no gain for anyone. He gets back what he has given, right? So there is no gain or there is no loss in this particular transaction. Now, let us now check the transaction between the shopkeeper and the customer, right? This is the transaction between the shopkeeper and the customer. The customer gets the book worth rupees 850 and he also gets cash of rupees 150 from the shopkeeper. Since he is not giving away anything except the fake coupons, his gain is 1000 rupees. Therefore, the only person who incurs the loss because of this deal is the shopkeeper. Therefore, the shopkeeper's loss is rupees 1000. Because he lost the book worth rupees 850 as well as the extra cash of 150 rupees. So friends, did you understand the solution? Hopefully, I feel you have understood this logic and the analysis. If not, rewind the video and watch it once again. You will definitely understand it. Now, how do you solve this problem using unconventional method or quicker methods? Understanding that the advantages of using unconventional methods is that you can solve problems like the one discussed in the previous slide almost instantaneously, irrespective of the denominations of the coupons. While solving problems unconventionally, you have to view this problem from various different angles so that you can arrive at the correct answer almost instantaneously. To view this problem in a different angle, start asking yourself, what would have been the loss to the shopkeeper if the customer had coupons in the denominations of 100? In such a case, the customer would have given only 9 coupons of rupees 100 each, as he had to pay only 850 rupees to the shopkeeper as the worth of the book. Then the shopkeeper would have given him 50 rupees as balance cash along with the book. Therefore, the customer would have made a gain of 900 rupees and the loss to the shopkeeper would have been 900 rupees. This is one of the possibilities. Now, let us view the same problem with another possibility. Suppose the customer had coupons in the denominations of rupees 50. Then, what would have been the loss in such a case to the shopkeeper? Can you guess? If we carry out the same analysis like we did it earlier, it will tell us that the loss would have been 850 only. Now, let us look at three different situations. Look at the table on the slide. The table shows that the denominations of coupons have a role to play in the loss that the shopkeeper incurs. This makes us wonder about the root cause of the problem, isn't it? Why is that there is a problem here? The entire problem is because of the fake coupons. Some pieces of paper were exchanged as coupons and only later the shopkeeper realized the mistake. All the transactions have been made considering the coupons as valid. Apart from this, there is nothing wrong in any part of the story. This being the case, don't you think the root cause of the problem is the value of the coupons transacted in the overall deal? It is, isn't it? The loss can never be different from the value of the coupons transacted. That is, for the coupon value of 1000, the loss incurred is 1000 rupees. For the coupon value of 900, the loss incurred is 900 rupees. And for the coupon value of 850, the loss incurred is 850 rupees. This is the secret code in this problem that you need to discover if you have to adopt unconventional method of problem solving. Unconventional methodologies force you to go deep into the fundamentals of a problem. It requires a special aptitude to probe into the root cause of the problem. Having said that, the next question is, how would you develop this aptitude of solving problems using unconventional methodologies where problems have to be solved using just the mind power without the usage of any devices? The answer is in the next slide. Developing the skill to solve problems using just mental power without the use of any calculating devices is a continuous journey of exploration and discoveries of fundamentals. I am going to give you my suggestion to all the beginners. What I have noticed in most beginners is that they are very happy with their problem solving skills the moment their answers tally with the correct answer. Have you ever experienced it? Most probably yes, isn't it? The first time you solve any problem, it is most likely that you approached it very systematically in a conventional way. In fact, when you are practicing to solve problems unconventionally or trying to develop mind skills to solve problems unconventionally, I would definitely suggest you that you first solve the problems using the conventional approach if you are really a beginner. Once you are convinced of the accuracy of the answer, then try to solve the same problem using different approaches. Every time you try a different route for solving the problem, you will probably discover an interesting logic or a fundamental issue in the problem. Now, in the process of figuring out these issues in the problem, you would have arrived at the root cause of the problem, as a result of which you would have learned how to solve such problems with varying values in various different approaches. This is how you start breaking the mental block created within you. As an assignment, I will give you one more problem. Try to solve it in the method you feel comfortable. Don't worry if you could not get the answer immediately. It's absolutely okay. I will give you both the conventional method as well as the unconventional method to solve the problem in the next lesson. But for now, first try to solve it by yourself. Let's start breaking the mental block that has been created within you. Please promise me that you will try to solve it by yourself. With lots of trust in you, I'm getting into the question. The question goes like this. This is a story about a painter. In the story, let me introduce you to the main painter who does home painting by visiting different houses. He always takes 3 assistants along with him to help him in painting buildings. One fine day, he gets a call from the king's palace for getting the palace painted and decorated for an annual celebration. The main painter, along with his 3 assistants, completes the painting work of the palace within 3 days and very neatly. As a reward, the king offers the main painter a bag full of gold coins worth various denominations. The main painter decides to distribute a few coins to his 3 assistants who helped him in the painting work. That night, before he goes to bed, the main painter kept aside a few coins with denomination 5 for the distribution. He called his three assistants and told them that they have to share these coins equally. That is, 1/3 of the total coins to each. As it was too late in the night, he told them to divide the coins in the morning. Unable to wait till the morning, the first assistant got up in the middle of the night and picked up his share from the total number of coins, that is, 1/3 of the quantity. An hour later, the second assistant got up and, thinking that he was the first to take his share of the coins, took what he considered as his share, that is, 1/3 of this remaining. Another hour later, the third assistant got up and took his share of the coins, thinking that he was the first to take the share. Now he has taken the 1/3 of the remaining part. Obviously, it is understood that some more coins were left. In the morning, the main painter found the reduced number of coins and quickly realized as to what would have happened. He knew that the second and the third assistants should get some more coins to make it a fair deal among all the three assistants. He counted the coins left out and distributed to the second assistant and the third assistant whatever was due to them. Now, the problem that you need to solve is this. In the last distribution, if the third assistant received 15 coins, then how many coins were kept aside by the main painter for distribution in the beginning? Hope you understood the question. If not, I would suggest you to read the question once again and try to solve this problem by yourself. You can either follow conventional method or unconventional method, or you can use both the methods. If you find it very difficult, try to solve it using conventional methodology or a systematic approach, and then try to solve it using unconventional method. I will share the solution with you in the next lesson, in the next video. Hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Meet you in the next lesson. If you are watching this on YouTube, then please do not forget to like, subscribe and click on the bell icon so that you do not miss any of my future videos related to aptitude and problem solving. Having said that, until then, meet you tomorrow, meet you in the next video. Until then, take care. Bye bye. Love you all so much. Bye.